Welcome back. I can tell that your conversations were fruitful because they keep going. I can feel the buzz in the room. Can I ask you to get out your smartphones, your tablets, because we're going to be now using our Slido tool for the last time together. And we're going to be asking you 3 questions. So again, the website is slido.com. And the hashtag is EPALE Conf 18. And let's show, please, the first question we would like to ask you. So, what's your takeaway from this conference? And we've come up with some suggested ideas that we think you might have as a takeaway from this conference. So maybe you got inspiration for a new project. Maybe you made some new friends. Maybe you've heard a little bit more about what's coming in the EU pipeline in terms of political and funding projects. Maybe you got some good pictures of the historic centers of Budapest. Or maybe it was all of the above. Let's get a sense of what is your takeaway from this conference. So, more than 40% of you feel you have got, oops, have we crashed the internet? It's coming again, okay. 40% of you feel that you have got a little bit of all of those different issues, which is great. That's what we were looking for, a sense that you got something personal, something professional, you got some new contacts, and some new ideas to go away with. And hopefully you feel energized for the future. Okay. We'll close the voting now on that question. Now we're going to go to the next question, where we're going to ask you, given everything that we've heard, how optimistic are you feeling about the future of adult learning? We've heard about the really important need, all the amazing things it can deliver for society, but also it tends to be the forgotten, the less noticed aspect of the learning and education spectrum. So, how optimistic are you feeling about the future of adult learning in Europe? So 2/3 of you are feeling somewhat optimistic. Some of you are feeling very optimistic, but a small group still feeling that not much optimism. Okay. Again, that's good, and I'd expect to see a level of optimism after we spend a day and a half creating some buzz and energy. Perhaps we should ask you this in a month's time, when you've got back home and you're stuck in your offices and overloaded with the day-to-day tasks. But that's good. We've left you with optimism. And now we'd like to do a word cloud. Our third question is, if you could sum up your conference experience in one word, what would it be? And remember, at the beginning of the day yesterday, we asked you for your expectations in one day. So now, what was your conference experience? I see that the coffee was appreciated. The coffee came through, yes. Okay. So inspiration is coming through very strongly, as is networking. And if you remember, networking was your biggest word at the beginning of the day yesterday. And we're clearly, that's the experience that you found yourself with. Puzzled. Some people are feeling puzzled, hopefully in a good way, thinking about how you could use or adapt the information. Fantastic, I think that's great. Please remember this good stuff when you get your online evaluation form, when you get back home. This is the kind of stuff we'd like to see coming through. Okay. Lots of good things. Okay, I think we're going to leave that word cloud up there to remind us of all of our experiences, our collective experiences. And again, I said to you yesterday at the beginning of this conference, I'm the moderator and I hold the space for you, but your responsibility was to manage your own experience. And you've clearly found things of use and inspiration and positive and new friends that have come out of that. So thank you for your active participation. And just before we turn over to hear some feedback from the workshops, and our facilitators have done an amazing job trying to distill down some clear messages without having had much notice. So thank you for that. While you were in your workshops, I read the posters that were outside. And there were two things that really struck me that I wrote them down. The Danish poster said that adult learning is about renewing the human resource. And I thought, what a fantastic way to put it. Because we've had some conversation as a group about how we find a balance between learning as a mechanism for employability and the economic variety, and learning as a route to self-empowerment and self-agency. And putting them two together, you have this lovely phrase from Denmark that I'm going to copy. I promise I will give you credit, Denmark. But it's renewing the human resource. And when I looked at the Finnish poster, it said that they want to create learning pathways, but no dead ends. And again, what a nice way to think about developing inclusive pathways, no dead ends for anyone. So inspired by those two, I'd like to read you the sentence that I came up with because, and again, I think it was on the Finnish poster, they said they wanted untraditional learning. So I thought, okay, adult learning exists for those who feel unsafe in a fast-changing social and economic environment, unconnected in a digital world, unengaged by politics or unheard by politicians. They might be unaware of the opportunities, unsure of their own potential, and untraditional adult learning helps them to achieve unexpected results. So that's my feedback to you of what I heard, the inspirational messages and the way that adult learning could fit into a broader society context. So let's now go to our different workshops and hear the feedback of some of the conversations that you had. And looking at workshop number 1, they have already given me their notes. So workshop number 1, and can we just have a reminder, what was the theme of workshop number 1, please? Someone remind me? What was the title of your workshop? Yes. So can we give him a mic, please? You can't speak without a mic. Just remind me what the title was.
Me and Christine were facilitating the workshop number 1, and the topic of it was open educational resources in EPALE, open educational resources.
Okay, so in the framework of open educational resources, you recommended that EPALE could be used, thank you, as a co-creation space for open education resources and to give ECTS credits for completing MOOCs. And I did say this is a little bit alphabet soup, but I was reliably informed you would recognize those acronyms. Number 2, restructuring the EPALE search into 3 domains: target groups, methods and tools, and topics. Fourthly, to establish a mentoring program. And fifthly, to use MOOCs, blended learning, and gamification to help learning processes. So these were some of the, again, just tiny flavor from workshop 1. And as a reminder, the full report of all workshops will be available in the conference report later. Okay, workshop number 2, and they focused on developing EPALE as a powerful sharing and collaboration tool. Let me get a microphone to Corinne and Karina.
Hi, I'm Karin. In our workshop, there was a discussion about whether or not to make EPALE obliged for Erasmus Plus projects. And we said there were arguments in favor, but there were also arguments against. But in fact, the conclusion was that EPALE should be so good that we shouldn't oblige it, that they would choose for EPALE.
Hi. In addition to that, we also talked about some of the benefits of the platform as a way of actually promoting it through the benefits. And one of the key ways of promoting it that came up was our use of ambassadors and the valuable role they play in sharing the benefits and values of what's on EPALE. And also, actually, the way of getting people together to talk about the benefits as well, and conferences such as this one was mentioned as being a really positive way of sharing the benefits and encouraging people to use the platform, and other networking events and the active involvement of all stakeholders to highlight the value and the benefits of the platform. So as well as highlighting the tools themselves, it's about getting people together.
Excellent, thank you. So workshop 3 was looking at building a vibrant transnational community, and their messages were, we need to simplify EPALE, particularly around uploading content and the design to make it more user-friendly. That would increase active involvement. Speed up EPALE, and I'm sure this is a common theme that came through many of the workshops, is it will be used more as it becomes more functionally usable. Number 3, less scientific language, so more accessible content. Research and engage new people and users, and what kind of influencers should we involve? These are 2 more questions that I'm now going to pass over to the colleague to answer.
What for the newcomers for the NSS, it should be possible to make an analysis of who is already on the platform on behalf of their region and country, which is not possible right now. Next to that, give better support for potential KA1 mobility activities, like having a better course database on EPALE, job shadowing offer, and so on. It should be more visible and clarified. And then when we talked about the influencers, please put enthusiasts on the platform as well, people who have a passion for adult learning, and make them speak. Put the monthly themes on the first page of the platform and introduce them as a kind of role model. And then a very good next suggestion was the one to personalize it by a feature like follow me. So if you found somebody interesting on the platform, then make it possible to follow that person and to see what's going on and happening further.
Excellent, thank you. Workshop number 4 was addressing EPALE as a space for virtual projects, and Mikko from Finland will be giving feedback.
Hi. To be very short, the theme was, the major question was, how can EPALE support virtual projects in adult learning? Well, first of all, in the beginning of our workshop, we had amazing presentation from Sofia Szabo about e-twinning, which is very good model and example for us and for EPALE, how we should proceed from here. And of course, we had some very intense discussion about technical issues. We are all aware about that, but that's a challenge which we will resolve in a near future. E-twinning is an example, and that's where we are heading. Any ads?
No, is that
Yeah.
the end of your workshop?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, workshop number 4. And we have workshop number 5, which looked at the future of EPALE. And it was split into 2 groups, 5A and 5B. So someone from 5A who's going to... Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thank you. We first charted out what kind of content needs users have, and then thought about possible new features for EPALE, and some very concrete themes emerged. For example, second language acquisition, digital skills acquisition, content on blended learning, and then just data and statistics concerning adult education. And the group was very active in coming up with possible new features for EPALE. For example, a rating system. We already have the likes and dislikes, but a peer rating system of content for registered users where you can rate content and also get rewarded for doing so, for being active on the platform. Also webinars were mentioned, and a priority for developing the platform is to improve the search functionalities of the portal.
Excellent,
Thank you.
And picking up on that, 5B have made a very bold statement. The future of EPALE is change. Considering changing the host to improve the speed and search tools, provide individualized content using algorithms, put the usefulness center stage, and maybe that means considering leaving out the login. It's a question to think about, open or closed spaces. It's not ready yet for new target groups, and I don't know if it's because we were getting close to lunchtime, but the group said, otherwise we go on hunger strike. So, thank you to those groups with ideas for the future about how we build and develop and deepen and strengthen the use of EPALE. And just as a reminder, you will find on EPALE after this conference the online evaluation form, the updated list of participants, so you'll be able to be in contact with each other. You'll find the PowerPoints from yesterday. You'll find in the coming weeks the conference report, including the detailed reports of each of the workshops. You will find photos. You may have noticed a photographer with an impressive lens yesterday. So there will be the photos in the album on the Facebook page. And please, many of you took photos. Feel free to tag EPALE on your own Facebook or Twitter so that we can share more of the feedback and the content of what happened, the magic that happened in the last 1.5 days. Matt, can I ask you to leave back up this slide with the one word about people's experience of the conference, because I think that's a really nice note for us to keep in mind. When you were asked to define your one-word experience, this was what you felt like. This is what you're taking away. And now with that in mind, I'd like to hand over to the European Commission, to Willem Vukovic, to give us some final words.
Thank you, Tamsin. Indeed, perhaps I should start out with a positive note here. I feel to a certain extent very much encouraged about the outcome of the conference, and also that which is very visible. People like it because it was a trial. At the outset, we didn't know will it work? Will be there enough people attending? And we made also some in advance of it some online discussion, how this will fall out. And in a nutshell, it worked well. Yeah. And I'm indeed very happy that you liked it, and it is of course an incentive that will continue like this in future. Because what I do think is that something like this was missing, because there is no event on adult learning on European level, and I know very often adult learning professionals, they consider themselves as the orphans of the amongst all the education sectors. And I think this type of event helps a little bit to show also our readiness to take it up, and also our readiness to support the adult learning sector. And this event, as I always said, should be some sort of a flagship for adult learning in Europe, also in future. Now to the more, well, let it put it like that, I will immediately take the bull at the horns. Yeah, we very much know that there is an issue in EPALE on the speed, on the technical issue. Yeah, we have discussed it already a lot, and I may reassure you, we are taking it very seriously. We are conducting an audit. We are looking also in the matter what else could be done, and we made some improvement. Yeah, I could show you a graph where the improvement, but of course it's not yet. We are not yet there what nowadays users' expectations are, because of course it is Google competing with Google. With all the financial power behind it, this is not our goal. But at least we should have a reasonable instrument that, let's say, in 2-3 seconds, the results are popping up. And indeed, we are working on it. And because when EPALE was started, at that time, we were not allowed to put the site on any other site than the Commission. But of course, it is at that time people didn't also think very much about the disadvantages of this, because the Commission site is only static, informative, and it is not suited well for engagement. So the problem is, and I was just checking again, if you are a normal visitor, it works fine. But in the moment you are logging in, then you are encountering problems. But again, we are looking into that, and we are also thinking some other hosting facilities, and we will come with something to your satisfaction, and of course to our satisfaction, because we don't feel well if the technical thing is not working appropriately. What we are also planning, in fact, because just to come back on some issues which have been mentioned, it is the landing page. Yeah, it is in our planning that once you are logging in, that you land at the page which is interesting for you. That in fact it is against the background of your profile. So most likely adult educators will be more interested on education staff, research, or something else. So this is an issue which we are looking at. We are also thinking about this rating system. So everybody knows Amazon, yeah, from 1 to 5, yeah, and it is about rating content, blogs, and so forth. And this is in fact a very useful tool for, I would put it as some sort of self-evaluation, or it is an easy tool to say somewhat about the quality of the content. And of course, it goes without saying, we are looking into this search optimization. Yeah, and as Graciela was telling us yesterday, we are a little bit delayed with the OERs, the Open Education Resources, and also the MOOCs. So we are very much looking forward to have the first units to be presented. In my view, it is. We should not stop at that. Yeah, it is a pilot, and we will see how this evolves. And who knows, in the future, there will be something like a virtual institute for adult educators on EPALE. But of course, this is again one of my dreams. I think we should take everything step by step to achieve our goals. And lastly, I would like to thank, because yesterday it was really a wow effect for me. Because there were some participants, I think from Lithuania and Latvia, and also the French, they gave some examples how they use EPALE together with your students, adult educator students. I think this is something great, and there is certainly a need that we collect such examples, because these are not evident, yeah, and we have to produce something where people can notify it or can make an application and just to increase their visibility. And finally, it is because there was one workshop related to virtual projects, and of course there was the example of e-twinning, and I think this is also something very viable for the future, because first of all, I think it is currently we do have already the partner search tool, and of course you can search for partners, but you still don't know is the partner reliable, yeah. So I think the approach that first you test out some projects with potential partners or partners virtually, and then you proceed further to a physical exchange, it's an appropriate way to achieve some nice outcomes. And lastly, I would like to thank those who were behind this conference. It is, first of all, it is the CSS, ECORIS, Ivan and Faye and her team. There are quite a number of people around here. Thank you very much for the excellent organization. I would also like to thank the NSSs who were very much involved in preparation for it, because without your interference, we are to a certain extent lost. We are very much relying on you. And of course, I would like to thank our moderator, who was guiding us excellently during the whole of the conference. So I take the liberty to nominate you as the honorary EPALer. And what else can I see? EPALers, keep browsing.
Thank you. I'm honored to be an honorary member of EPALE. Just before we close, can I see, where's the Portuguese group sitting in the room? Portuguese group, can we stand up? Now, amongst the Portuguese group, there is someone with a special day today. We need to wish, I think it's the lady who's with her head in hands. Susanna, is her birthday today. To you, happy birthday to Susanna, and happy birthday to you. That's a great way to end. Now let me give you the practical details of what happens when we leave the room. The conference ends now, and by the way, before we leave, we shouldn't forget our technical team who are sitting over in the corner. They kept the internet up for us, they kept switching between, they put the video on and off. It's actually been very seamless compared to many conferences I've been to. So you guys have been really on your toes. Thank you. So, first of all, in case there was any confusion, lunch has not been arranged. So you are on your own in this beautiful town with your wallets to find your own lunch. The exception is the people who are staying for the NSS meeting. For them, they still have work to do this afternoon. So they can go to the restaurant at 1, but they must be in the Mercure room promptly at 1:30. For the rest of you, there are coaches, 2 coaches going to the airport. and the seats are allocated on first come, first serve. The coaches will leave at 12:45 and 1:45, but they will start boarding at 12:25 and 1:25. So the seats will fill, the coach will go. If you don't get a seat, you arrange your own way to the airport, and the hotel staff will be able to help you order shuttles, etc. So, thank you so much for participating and engaging and being such a lively audience. I hope, does anyone remember all the 22 language numbers from this morning? No, me neither, but it was a fun activity. If nothing else, we've learned to count in other languages. So thank you, safe trip home, and see you again soon.